strengthen the ambition, the aspirations of our country. We will take on the issue of immigration.
All right, perfect.
We will take on
How?
a number of issues. On the subject of immigration, we must have comprehensive immigration reform with strong border security and an earned pathway to citizenship, including for hardworking immigrants who have been here for years, including our dreamers. Including our dreamers. And I was Attorney General of a border state. I prosecuted transnational criminal organizations who traffic in guns, drugs, and human beings. And as president, I will double the resources for the Department of Justice to go after those transnational cartels and take action to stop the flow of fentanyl coming into our country, which is destroying entire communities.
So once again, talking about the problems that her and Biden created. Imagine that. Imagine that.
These are serious problems, and we know Donald Trump won't solve them. When he was president,
Man, shout out Jake Peterson, man. Right along with $3,000 cash and $3,000 and food benefits every month for illegals. Yeah, that's what they doing, G. So not, bro, Jake, bro, I got something to show you, dog. This is gonna blow your mind, okay? Because I don't know why y'all just don't like to hear the truth, and you know what? I kind of got to force it in y'all face sometimes, but it is what it is, though.
The former chief patrol agent for U.S. Customs and Border Protection testifying in Congress and what.
Now, if you can't believe this man, like I said, I think we've covered this already. So, but if you can't believe this man, you can't believe anybody at this point. I mean, I'm talking to Kamala supporters. If you can't believe this, then you're officially just gone. You're out there. It's over for you. You've been officially
right over here. Here's Aaron Heitke, the former chief patrol agent for U.S. Customs and Border Protection, testifying in Congress, and what he says, well, frankly, it's just shocking.
In San Diego, we had an exponential increase in significant interest aliens. These are aliens with significant ties to terrorism. Prior to this administration, the San Diego sector averaged 10 to 15 SIA arrests per year. Once word was out the border was far easier to cross, San Diego went to over 100 SIAs in 2022, well over that in 2023, and even more than that registered this year. These are only the ones we caught. The sector averaged 10 to 15 SIA arrests per year. Once word was out the border was far easier to cross, San Diego went to over 100 SIAs in 2022, well over that in 2023, and even more than that registered this year. These are only the ones we caught. At the time, I was told I could not release any information on this increase in SIAs or mention any of the arrests. The administration was trying to convince the public there was no threat at the border. Fentanyl is another issue. The San Diego area sees between 80 and 90% of the methamphetamine and fentanyl seizures annually for our entire country. With little enforcement at the border, these drugs were coming through en masse. During my last year in San Diego, the price for a single pill of fentanyl, for example, went from $10.
Yeah, you're getting kicked for that, dog, because I ain't gonna lie. That's very arrogant to say. This is what I don't like. People who gonna sit here and lie in the chat and say anything. Anything. Former chief patrol agent. This man was the chief for 25 years. What are you talking about? Why are y'all gonna sit here and try to lie in the chat, talk about, oh, what you mean? I'm from California. I don't see none of that going on. Lie again, bro. Lie again.
80 and 90% of the methamphetamine and fentanyl seizures annually for our entire country. With little enforcement at the border, these drugs were coming through en masse. During my last year in San Diego, the price for a single pill of fentanyl, for example, went from $10 to 25 cents. To make matters worse, during 2022 and 23, I had to shut down San Diego traffic checkpoints, which are critical for drug interdiction, because the resources had been diverted to the process and release mission. The large numbers also had and still have a negative impact on the San Diego community. I had to release illegal aliens by the hundreds each day into communities who could not support them.
I had to release illegal aliens into communities every day that could not support them. for those of you who, are a little bit slow, who can't really hear too much, but I'm gonna be real with y'all. Now, I'm not even trying to be disrespectful. I'm sorry. But it irritates me when people literally see the truth. A man who's honestly like, bro, how can we deny what he's saying? I don't even understand how you can sit there and just say it. Like, oh, what you mean? The border's good, bro. The border chief agent is telling us what's going on. You gonna sit here and lie and tell you, oh no, it's going great. Okay, bro. Okay. Keep that up.
San Diego, the price for a single pill of fentanyl, for example, went from $10 to 25 cents. To make matters worse, during 2022 and 23, I had to shut down San Diego traffic checkpoints, which are critical for drug interdiction, because the resources had been diverted to the process and release mission. The large numbers also had and still have a negative impact on the San Diego community. I had to release illegal aliens by the hundreds each day into communities who could not support them. To quiet the problem, 2 flights a week were provided from San Diego to Texas. These flights simply brought aliens that would have been released in San Diego over to Texas. Each flight cost approximately $150,000. This was the administration's way to try and quiet.
Each flight, $150K given to fly immigrants into sanctuary cities. $150K taxpayer dollars. Boy, okay, under the Biden-Harris administration. But y'all want to keep voting though, right? Y'all want to vote for them again, right? Biden administration border policies, right? Okay.
Simply brought aliens that would have been released in San Diego over to Texas. Each flight cost approximately $150,000. This was the administration's way to try and quiet the border-wide crisis.
Holy frickin' moly. Folks, this man just said that under oath. That is an official testimony from a high-ranking Customs and Border Patrol chief who worked directly under the Biden administration. And this claim is wild. It's wild for a couple reasons. Firstly, the sheer scale of it, the numbers. And secondly, the accusation of deception. He claims the White House knew that this was happening. They were warned repeatedly, and obviously they knew, but they worked diligently to hide the problem. This is absolutely freaking insane. To be honest, I think it's the biggest immigration scandal probably ever. I mean, the scale of it is insane. It goes well beyond Aaron Hedke's testimony, as now some official numbers start to drop. Just take a look at this.
ICE has something called a non-detained docket. Essentially what that is it means migrants who were encountered by DHS but are no longer in federal custody. So who's on this non-detained docket? It's
non-detained docket. You know what? And the key did bring up, this kind of goes into, the little argument with Professor Swagamuffin on crime. It's like, yeah, some of these people aren't documented. Some of these people aren't put in the system. Actually, we've seen that, oh yeah, well, this is what we let in, guys. This is how much people are just running around who are homicidal. Yes. And these are the people that's running around that are just, the essayers. So, yeah, what's going on here? And no, this is not coming from Fox. No. If you look at the bottom here, this is coming from the ICE deputy director. Yes, the ICE deputy director. These are their numbers.
illegal immigrants who were caught and released at the border, released with the court date years away. They're in immigration proceedings, combined with illegal immigrants who have already been ordered, deported from the country by a judge, but are still here roaming the country. So keep that in mind, this non-detained docket. According to a letter that the acting director of ICE just sent to Texas Congressman Tony Gonzalez, on ICE's non-detained docket, they're currently tracking 425,000 non-citizens who have been convicted of a crime. Of that number, over 13,000 non-citizens have convictions for homicide and are on the non-detained docket, meaning they're roaming the country right now. On top of that, there are another 15,811 non-citizens convicted of sexual assault who are roaming the country right now on ICE's non-detained docket. It doesn't stop there.
I mean, they're like, this is scary. It is a bit scary. I'm like, hold on. I'm over here telling my girls, like, no, you can't even go out late no more. It's a wrap. I don't know. I'm hearing 13,000 people that I don't know where the fuck they at. Yeah, you know what? Protection at all times. You ain't going out unless I'm with you.
Those are convictions. The ICE director also says there are currently just under 1,900 non-citizens on the non-detained docket who have pending homicide charges. who are roaming the country, and another 4,000.
Like, I mean, men, until this stuff is done, protect your women, protect her, go outside, make sure you're there, please, because we don't know where these people are at, dog. We don't know. They're just dropping them off in the country. So, man, until we get this situation solved, we must be around our daughters, wives, girlfriends, mothers, whatever, dog, until this situation is fixed. Because I'll be damned, and I know you be damned too.
250 non-citizens who have pending assault charges who are roaming the country on the non-detained docket. So
the director of ICE is now admitting that 425,000 known convicted illegal immigrants have been released into the United States, including 13,000 who are convicted of homicide and 15,000 convicted of SA. Folks, this isn't just negligence. It is a complete betrayal of American safety. How do you look people in the eye after allowing literal criminals to walk freely into the nation and people's neighborhoods, for Pete's sakes? How do you do it? And for the last 4 years, Kamala Harris and other Biden officials have gone on the record claiming the border is secure.
We have a secure border in that is a priority for any nation, including ours and our administration. One of our highest priorities is to ensure that we have a secure border, and that is what we are doing.
The border.
And what did she just say in that speech of hers? We're gonna secure the border. This woman been talking about that for years now and ain't did a damn thing. Actually only made it worse and try to hide it. Now, I don't know. I honestly, in my opinion, I feel like I converted some Kamala supporters at this point. If you watching this and you ain't been converted, or at least now going to do some research into what she really stands for, I don't know what to tell you, G. I don't know what to tell you.
Secure, they've said. It's insane. This entire time, Democrats have been touting this humanitarian approach to immigration. They're just refugees. It's a refugee crisis. How absolutely insane. They've made it
wrong, Dake Magician. I've actually been in plenty of intellectual debates. And I could always debate both sides. Actually, I was the worst person. I'm the worst guy you would ever want to meet in a debate, because I could debate both sides perfectly well.
It sounds as if they're on the right side of history. They're the compassionate ones, with a righteous approach to immigration. But all the while, they've turned a blind eye to the criminal elements pouring over the border, and in the process, gaslighting and slandering anybody who highlights what they're obviously doing. It's insane, and once again, it comes right back to that point. You know, Democrats say Republicans are wrong when they speak like this, but what other conclusion can you come to other than the Democrats clearly have contempt for the American people, and they hate the nation that they pretend to serve? I can't come to any other conclusion. We've seen Venezuelan gangs take over neighborhood blocks, and all the while Trump's been saying that Venezuela is emptying their prisons and sending all of those people up.
And women, if you're listening to this, make sure your man goes with you everywhere. Older brother, little brother, make sure a man's with you at this point, because we don't know, okay? Until we figure this out, let's just be protected here, okay? Let's not make anything too big of a deal, but let's better be safe than sorry. I know that's what I'm doing, like, I know that's what I'm doing. You tell me something like this is going on, I'm going like, yeah, maybe I need to go ahead and tighten up the leash on my protection.
North. Again, that was supposedly a conspiracy theory, but Trump was right. That's exactly what they're doing, except it's even worse. They're allowing these people in, and then they're busing them and flying them straight to your neighborhood. You know, honestly, I'm struggling to come up with commentary here, because the only thing that keeps coming to mind is this is insane. I mean, this is crazy. We care about the kids, the refugees, fleeing violent gangs in violent countries, and all the while, these supposed refugees, which are mostly economic migrants, a good chunk of them weren't fleeing the crime. A good chunk of them were the crime. I mean, what the actual F? And speaking of gaslighting, now we have tough on the border czar Kamala Harris, a real tough prosecutor, campaigning at the southern border. I think Scott Jennings at CNN said it best.
Be no love for me or Republicans for Kamala Harris today. In fact, I think the Trump campaign line today ought to be arsonist returns to scene of crime. I mean, look at the last 3.5 years. We've got the border has effectively been open, people flowing across. ICE today released information that there are 13,000 non-citizens convicted of homicide and almost 16,000 non-citizens convicted of some kind of crime who are in the country right now. Only because we're in the shadow of an election is Kamala Harris trying to rush and pay some lip service to this issue as a tactical matter. Anderson, I don't think Harris should be trying to elevate this issue, because this is the best ground from which Donald Trump has to fight. So, no, I think the Harris campaign is making a tactical mistake, and I think they have very little to say that the American...
And if we're going like, well, S.E.T, why can't we just hear from the man himself? For all you know, that could have been clipped up, taken out of context. And I'm like, you know what? I like your thinking. You know what? You're right. Don't fully trust me. Just go look it up for yourself. You're right. You're right.
Ties to.
So let's take it there. Let's take it there. I'll be right back.
Yesterday, in shocking testimony before the House Homeland Security Committee, a former senior-ranking Border Patrol official, Aaron Heike, alleged that the Biden administration intentionally covered up the border crisis. And in his testimony, Heike explained the lengths that the administration went to lie to the American people, conceal information from the media. Now, take a look at this.
For the first time in my 25 years and under 5 different administrations, whether through neglect or on purpose, I saw a large-scale lapse in our ability to return people to their country of origin. Simultaneously, in San Diego, we had an exponential increase in significant interest aliens. These are aliens with significant ties to terrorism. Prior to this administration, the San Diego sector averaged 10 to 15 SIA arrests per year. Once word was out the border was far easier to cross, San Diego went to over 100 SIAs in 2022, well over that in 2023, and even more than that registered this year. These are only the ones we caught. At the time, I was told I could not release any information on this increase in SIAs or mention any of the arrests. The administration was trying to convince the public there was no threat at the border. I had to release illegal aliens by the hundreds each day into communities who could not support them. To quiet the problem, 2 flights a week were provided from San Diego to Texas. These flights simply brought aliens that would have been released in San Diego over to Texas. Each flight cost approximately $150,000.
Well, goddamn.
This was the administration's way to try and quiet the border-wide crisis. Through pressure from the administration, my headquarters became more interested in the fiction that being portrayed in the media and not at all concerned with reality. Each time we asked for help in dealing with a new issue, it fell on deaf ears. At times in San Diego, we had 2,000 or more aliens.
25 years. This man, 25 years. He's seen 5 different presidencies, okay? The man been running the border for 5 different presidencies. You can't even say he's being, he's a right winger, he's a left winger. Like, nah, I think Trump even showed the charts of, Obama had it cool. Trump had the immigration cool. Biden has at outrageous numbers. It's like at record highs. He broke records highs like 2 years in a row. And they damn near might do it again.
Sitting in between the fences, asking to turn themselves in. I was told to move them out of sight of the media.
All right, here with more, former U.S. Border Patrol San Diego Sector Chief Aaron Heike. So you were told to keep these illegal immigrants out of sight. At the same time, Harris, Biden, Mayorkas, and every other administration official, they were telling the American people that the border is secure and the border is closed. So they basically were telling you to lie to the American people and cover it up on their behalf. Is that an accurate description?
I think it's pretty accurate. They wouldn't allow us to put out any information. It was very frustrating knowing what was going on, knowing that there were large gaps in the border coverage, and that there were real threats there that we weren't able to address, and that there were real threats entering our country.
And who was telling you to do that?
It came through my headquarters, Border Patrol headquarters.
Okay, and they also prevented you from reporting the names and the actual number of illegal immigrants that had ties to terror? And if that's the case, because we know there are hundreds of people with terror ties in this country, we know that there are people, 11.5 million is now the number of people we know about. And then there are the gotaways, but people coming from 180 countries, that would include our top geopolitical foes and countries with terror ties. That would be Iran and Syria and Egypt and Afghanistan, and that would include Venezuela. That would include tens and tens of thousands from Russia and China. Am I correct about that?
You are correct. We are not allowed to put any information out on any of the individuals, whether it be the significant significant increase in number of the significant interest aliens that entered, or any information out that we had large gaps, entire zones across Texas, Arizona, and California that had no agent presence for weeks at a time. We have no idea what and who entered our country over that time frame, and we weren't allowed to put that information out either.
So they don't know. The chief, bro. The chief. The chief don't know who's going into the country, and they weren't allowed information. What the hell? The chief? Bro, you know how mad I'd have been if I was bro? I'd have been like, bro, you're not about to tell me, bro. It's my job to know these people's names. What are you talking about? It's my job to make sure these people get sent back to their country. What do you mean I can't know where they're going? What? Like, bro, I mean, I feel bad for bro. He must be demoralized at this point.
If you couldn't put out the name and the numbers of people that had known terror.
I mean, bro, just look at bro's face. You could just tell he just seen some dark things. He didn't see some dark things. Even the Border Patrol agent that came out on Fresh and Fit said the same thing he's saying. He said, dog, we're picking them up. We're checking them in, and they get a court date, and then we're releasing them into the country. Like, we don't send them back. We just put them back. We just send them here. Man, it's crazy.
What happened to those people? Were they released into our country even though you knew they had known terror ties?
The actual end state for all of those people, I don't know.
Man, shout out YF. I appreciate the support. She said, thank you for the work you're doing. Former Dem here. Hey, I was a former Dem too. Trust me. And I'm black, so my whole family's damn near Democrats. My mom voting for Kamala Harris. Dad voting for Kamala Harris. And trust me, I asked my mom why she doing it. It's a black woman. I was like, yep, they got him. But yeah, trust me, I used to be a former Dem too. And hey, it ain't work out. It ain't work out for me. I'll tell you that right now. And let's be real. It feels like they done turned on white people for some reason. I mean, it's kind of weird, right? So they never did anything for black people. They done turned on white people for immigrants. And now it's the most evilest thing to be a white straight male or just a straight person. It's a bit weird. It's a bit weird what's going on with this Democratic Party. So it's not just policies we're disagreeing with. We're just also disagreeing with the social order they're trying to put into place.
Know where any of them ended up. If they had significant terror ties, we would turn them over to the FBI for further questioning, and then they would go over to Immigration and Customs Enforcement for final determination. I don't know the ultimate.
Appreciate you,
but
hold on.
As many as there were, and as much of it was going on.
Oh yeah, I forgot to give you that bomb because banger comment. I appreciate that.
Likely, many of them were released into the United States public.
Is it safe to say that you have knowledge that there are people from countries with known terror ties and people that have known terror ties themselves? Is it safe to say that you are pretty confident that they have been released into our country?
I think it's safe to say that they are here for sure. Between those numbers that came through.
Man, and shout out, man, Jake Peterson. The lady is a lot of things. One thing for sure. Well, one thing for certain, she is not black. Oh God, Kamala Harris is a lot of things, but one thing's for certain, she is not black. And trust me, things are looking a little bit shaky with her past. Like, we're still trying to figure out who the hell Kamala Harris is like real granddad or grandmother is. Because we all know, Oscar Wilde, some Hindu white, and looking like Kamala Harris's grandmother most likely was a white woman. And the pictures that she showed y'all was a lie. Because her grandma died before Kamala was born. So how the hell she take a picture with her grandmother? But hey, that's that. Y'all can go down that one on yourselves, though.
The inability that agents had to do proper questioning because there were so many people that they had to deal with each day, that they slipped through the cracks and entered into our country, yes.
So would it then be logical to conclude if people with known terror ties from countries with known terror ties that you were told to lie about, would it be logical to conclude that they're likely in this country plotting, planning, and scheming another 9/11 attack or worse?
And she come from the descendant of slave owners. Like, what middle class lifestyle did she live? I'm confused here. Like, does anybody ever really fact check that? Like, hold on. Like, slave owner descendants went to Howard, and then all of a sudden, you're working in politics. I mean, that don't sound like a middle class background to me.
And if in fact that happens, would it be fair to blame Harris and Biden and Mayorkas for allowing this to happen? And if Americans die, wouldn't they have blood on their hands?
Well, I think it's one of the things that keeps me up at night. It's one of the things that keeps all the agents that I worked with up at night, knowing that there are those threats that likely did and have come into our country that are here, and that is a much...
You know what? To be quite honest with you, like, bro, I hope Kamala's not black. I mean, low key, because it's just a bad look. It's honestly a bad look on us. Like, I promise you. A black woman would have did way better than Kamala. Like, an actual black woman, like a black woman that all the black community could get behind and be like, okay, yeah, she black. That's a black woman right there. It's not Kamala, okay? It's just not Kamala. That's not a black woman, or at least black raised, or none of that, okay? She had an Indian mother. Like, where? Usually your culture comes from your mother. She had an Indian mother. Than what black culture? Make it make sense.
More likely possibility now with the inability to do the Border Patrol mission of national security over the last...
I mean, bro, let me talk to my biracial people. If your mother was white, you mostly ran down the white path. If your mother was black, you mostly was aligned with your black path. It's like we kind of always lean towards our mother's culture or whatever. If we had our fathers or whatever, our father heavily influenced as well. But, bro, let's be real. Your mother kind of taught you what your culture was. And that's what you went down.
Several years.
Were you forced to release illegal immigrants and pay for flights from your sector in San Diego to Texas? And how much did those flights cost the American taxpayer, and how many flights were there?
The flights started when we were releasing hundreds and sometimes 1,000 more people a day into downtown San Diego. We were given 2 flights a week from San Diego to Texas, about a little over 100 people per day, per flight. So twice a week to fly them to Texas to be released. When I asked why that was being done, I was told that there was a problem in Texas. There was not a problem in California. We received those flights for about a month, and then they stopped. Once those flights stopped, we continued to release. We had no choice. I was told not to release anymore.
So I was flying these people in $150K a month for a month. For a month. Y'all think I'm lying when I tell you that, bro, they're spending like $400 billion on this immigration thing, and it's not to send them away. It's not. It's to fund them and push them on the U.S. people. But it's legal. But is it right, though? Ask yourself that.
Into San Diego. My reply was that I cannot keep those people. Once a person is determined to be released, it's a Fourth Amendment violation to hold them in detention. They must be released. And so I told my headquarters that I would not stop releasing.
So basically, they put you in a position that you had to violate what the laws of this country are, because last I checked, you're not allowed to enter the country without approval, and then you became, in that sense, they put you in a position where you had to release them into the sanctuary state of California. But Aaron Heike, thank you for being honest with the American people and telling them the truth. Yeah. It's important they know. And I'll add that when they got here, that now Kamala supports decriminalizing them, getting them on a path to citizenship after they get free housing, health care, education, and if they want a free sex change operation. And in Minnesota, you get a legal driver's license, and you get a free college tuition paid for you.
Yep. That's the truth. Taking care of these immigrants better than they're taking care of us. Yeah, but y'all said, oh, they're net positive. But this is how Kamala really feels about him.
Criminal being an undocumented. It is wrong to somehow suggest that an undocumented immigrant is a criminal. Being an undocumented immigrant is not a crime. I know what a crime looks like. An undocumented immigrant is not a criminal. 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 An undocumented immigrant is not a criminal, and we have to correct course in this conversation. We're not going to treat people who are undocumented across the border as criminals. That's correct.
What? But they broke the law. But Kamala, they broke the law. Why not? Why can't we just say they criminals? Why can't we? Oh, yeah, because she's allowing this.
Already registered.
Are you a citizen? Just out of curiosity, are you registered to vote?
Yes, we've already registered.
Are you a citizen?
No.
Are you a citizen? No, I'm waiting for my residency right now. And do you plan to vote this year? Yes. Who do you prefer right now? Kamala or Trump? Or Trump? No, Kamala. Have you been registered? Yes. Are you a citizen or not? And would you vote for Kamala? Well, yeah.
Arizona has recently become the center of election integrity concerns. It was the most closely contested state during the 2020 presidential election, decided by a margin of less than 11,000 votes. The razor-thin margin of victory in 2020 led to intense scrutiny of election integrity measures in the state. The primary concern is that non-citizens could be registering to vote and participating in American elections. However, the mainstream media continues to minimize the issue. The Washington Post said that the issue of non-citizens voting was dishonest. Rolling Stone claimed that the issue was non-existent, and NPR assured its audience that the issue is a myth. The stakes in the 2024 presidential election could not be higher, so we went to Arizona to investigate the matter ourselves. At the Los Vecinos apartment complex in Phoenix, Arizona, we asked residents if they were registered to vote and if they were citizens. The responses we obtained destroy the narrative that non-citizens participating in United States elections is a conspiracy theory.
Hola, señora, ¿cómo está? Somos una organización, ahorita estamos ayudando a la comunidad hispana aquí del área de Phoenix, dándoles información para la gente que igual quieren registrarse para votar aquí en las elecciones en noviembre. Nomás de pura curiosidad, ¿está usted registrada para votar?
Ya nos registramos.
Ok.
Sí.
¿La registraron aquí o en el trabajo? ¿Vino? En el trabajo. Ok. ¿Usted es ciudadana?
No.
¿Ya lo registraron?
Había una obligación que me...
You know what? Let me go ahead and fix that a little bit for y'all. See if we can raise that up. We want to make sure y'all can see that mug. Boom, boom. Go ahead and raise this up a little bit. You feel me? Lift things up so people can see. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, man. Come on now. Well, X. Sorry, I'm a bit old. You feel me? Back in the day, it was called Twitter, man. We don't know nothing about this X bullshit y'all came up with, but hey, we're here for it, I guess. We're here for it. All right, let's go. Here, let me see. Transition over. Should be look a little better, right? Right? Great. Let me go back to where she talks.
The presidential election could not be higher, so we went to Arizona to investigate the matter ourselves. At the Los Vecinos apartment complex in Phoenix, Arizona, we asked residents if they were registered to vote and if they were citizens. The responses we obtained destroy the narrative that non-citizens participating in United States elections is a conspiracy theory.
Hola, señora, ¿cómo está? Somos una organización, ahorita estamos ayudando a la comunidad hispana aquí del área de Phoenix, dándoles información para la gente que igual quieren registrarse para votar aquí en las elecciones en noviembre. Nomás de pura curiosidad, ¿está usted registrada para votar?
Ya nos registramos.
Ok.
Sí.
¿La registraron aquí o en el trabajo? ¿Vino? En el trabajo. Ok. ¿Usted es ciudadana?
No.
¿Ya lo registraron?
Había una obligación que me dijo que, bueno, fue en la ayuda de la ayuda que nos dan nosotros los hispanos cuando venimos aquí.
Yo puse que sí, que llegué a votar, pero bueno, no sé si quieres registrarme ahí.
O sea, usted puso que sí.
Sí, yo puse que sí, le dije, ahí me salió una aplicación que si quería votar y yo puse que sí.
¿Y usted es ciudadano?
No, estoy esperando la residencia todavía.
¿Está esperando la residencia? Ok. ¿Y usted planea votar este año? O...
Sí.
Y usted, la última pregunta es, ¿a quién le gusta a usted ahorita?
Está
la Kamala y el Trump.
Y el Trump. No, la Kamala.
La Kamala. ¿Usted dónde nació?
En Cuba.
¿En Cuba?
Sí.
Ok.
¿Está usted registrado para votar?
Creo que ya me
Hold on, did Mexican man say it right? Kamala.
registré la semana pasada.
¿Ya se registró?
Ok. En el súper que está aquí.
En el súper, lo registraron.
Personas así como ustedes se estaban buscando.
¿Usted es ciudadano?
No, residente.
¿Residente? Sí. Ok. De pura curiosidad, ¿usted está registrado para votar?
Sí.
¿Sí? Ok. ¿Lo registraron aquí o en su trabajo? En el trabajo. ¿Usted es ciudadano?
No.
¿No?
Hold on. He said, "Are you a citizen?" No, senor. I'm me no citizen. I mean, I'm sorry. Okay, now I'm sorry, but yeah, no citizen. He said, "Me, senor, no citizen."
¿No es ciudadano? Ok. Nomás de pura curiosidad, ¿usted está registrada para votar?
Sí, ya llenaron eso.
¿Ya?
Sí.
Ok, ¿vinieron aquí alguien para registrarla?
Ajá.
Pero sí, de curiosidad, ¿usted es ciudadano americano?
No.
¿No?
Todavía no.
Venimos con una organización que ayuda a la gente a registrar para poder votar en las elecciones.
Ya pasaron.
¿Ya? ¿Usted ya está registrado?
Ya.
Oiga, ¿usted es ciudadano o no es?
No. No hay ningún ciudadano.
Okay.
Not a single citizen here, bruh. Really? Like you can't just show me one? Like what? Not a single one here, bro. We can all vote and we're working though. So you know who needs to be a citizen? Like, hey, senor, look at me now, me voter. Oh man, it's a beautiful day in America, huh? You know, sad for the Constitution, sad for the American people, but it's great for them. It's a beautiful day in America for them. Not us, but them.
Oiga, pero este año la Kamala y el trompudo, ¿usted quién le gusta?
El Trumpas dice que el primer día va a empezar a sacar.
Trump says he'll start deporting people on the first day. And that's why we love Trump, man.
Gente, usted tuviera que votar por alguien, ¿por quién vota?
Mira, el Trumpas es negociante, ¿ok? Kamala Harris no es negociante, pero la Kamala Harris creo que está con la comunidad, pero pues va a seguir igual, la gasolina va a llegar más cara, todo el dinero lo están mandando para las guerras.
¿Usted votara por Kamala?
Pues sí.
Pero usted lo que hizo, lo bueno de Kamala es que está con la gente,
está con la comunidad, hace promesas por el mundo.
I'm weak. He said Kamala's with the community, even though they keep promises. They make promises they don't keep. Even they know she's a liar, but they're just like, look, bro, she's in our best interest right now. Why would we talk against that? I mean, well, I get it. I ain't mad at bro for saying it. He's like, bro, she's for our best interest. What you want to do? F up something good here? Like, boy, you tripping. Let's get into this real quick. Vlad, I'm about to pull up your video now. I got you.
1,000, whatever it is. And I do it. Show of hands, raise your hand if Ukraine is a top 10 priority for you in your life. Top 10. And I'll do it. Like, if it is, I'll give you the mic. How about a top 3? It doesn't exist. I found 2 people. 2 people of now, let's call it 65,000 people that I speak to weekly. It was not top 3, but it was top 10. First guy, sir, why? I am from Kiev, Ukraine. I was like, okay, fine.
I'm weak.
I'm going to give you a pass. And the other was a guy that's like a Beltway warmonger. I was like, so you're on the board of Raytheon or something like that? He was like, well, no, not exactly. I was like, Northrop Grumman? He just walks away. And yet, I get the calls. By the way, what's nice about me, I'm not a politician, so I'll call out both sides. I get the calls from Republicans. Hey, Don, can you not go so tough on the Ukraine because, some of that money is getting funneled back to a missile maker. And I was like, wait. I'm all about American businesses. Like, our family's done that before we got sued to, we've done this. I get it. I want to support American business. Not if it's just for abject death for no reason around the world. Like, I'm not there to support American business in genocide. And I talk to these guys, I'm like, you're making trillion-dollar decisions. Have you surveyed your constituents? And they're like, well, no, but I'm sure they took 6 figures from Raytheon, and so therefore, they're on the team. They should get sponsorship things. Whose payroll are you on? Because it's shocking to me that a guy like me, who grew up on the 70th floor of Trump Tower in Manhattan, again, I don't forget that. I don't pretend it didn't happen. I'm very self-aware that way. But it's how do I know this and you don't? You live there. Exactly. You live amongst these people. You literally chose to represent your district. I was there last week, and you have no idea what they actually stand for, and it's disgusting.
Just thank you for that. So, I think that one of the great promises of a second Trump term is that the party that nominated him will really change. And change in a specific way. It will represent its voters. The Democratic Party actually kind of represents its voters. If you're into child castration, you've got a party. But why wouldn't normal people have a political party that represents them?
I don't know how it got that way. And again, it's sort of amazing, right? Because you would think they'd be able to get voted out. But you know what? No one's, again, sort of being unafraid, right? They can go to their little constituents and they go speak to a room, other than maybe DJT. No one can assemble a room like this in conservative politics, or frankly in politics. But they go home and they speak to a group of 5 people that shows up and they tell them everything they want to hear. Everything. And then they go to DC and they vote opposite. Because there's no consequence in DC. You can be 75% Republican. Hell, you could be 90% Republican. As long as when it actually matters, you fold. It's an easy existence to be a weak Republican in Washington, D.C. The Washington Post isn't going to do the hit piece on you. I'd say they'd get invited to the cool person Christmas party, but we can't say Christmas party in D.C., right? They can get away with a lot. And so you have people that they get away with it. They lie and they say, no, that guy's really for me. And I go, but have you looked at his voting record? No, he's just the Republican. It's sort of like why we end up with, why are the weakest Republicans in the most conservative states?
Oh.
Right? If you look at our...
I'm speaking to you, Dan Crenshaw.
Well, but you go through the list. I mean, whether it's Oklahoma, you have senators that are with Republicans like those, Utah, with Republicans like Mitt Romney, who needs Democrats? But in the strong conservative states, the Democrats sort of get together, they do this really well, and they say, hey, we're going to just forget about the Democrat. We're just going to install the weakest Republican. Half the Republicans don't know the difference. They think that's the guy that's leading, so we'll just vote for him. And you end up with conservative states that have the least conservative leadership in the world. And so much of this is really an education process. People have to understand and start paying attention. And again, I think it takes, unfortunately, sort of, whether it's addiction or otherwise, sometimes you have to hit rock bottom. And I think the American populace watching what we've been told has been a great success over the last 3.5 years under Joe Biden, that's the rock bottom we actually needed to get people woken up and engaged in politics. We could have never done something like this 5 years ago, 10 years ago. It didn't exist. You got 4 people in a room. People are fed up. Raise your hand if you're fed up.
But you may be missing something important, and I'm getting this directly from Ben Stiller. The election of Kamala Harris will be, and I'm quoting now, the change we need.
By the way, just so we're clear, Kamala Harris has changed a lot. Unfortunately, it's all been for the worse. What's amazing about this whole thing, I'm watching the media, she's the candidate of change. I go, she's the vice president. She has been there. They want change. They cut and paste Joe Biden's policies when they finally, after a month of being the nominee, put up her policies, and they forgot to cover up the source code to say it's the same thing. What change is that going to be? She's the vice president to the most absentee president in the history of the United States. beyond the dementia, beyond the basics of the dementia, he spent 40+% of his presidency on vacation. If she wanted to do something, she had the opportunity to literally do anything. She could have taken the reins. And by the way, Joe Biden said that the other day, what was it, on the Clowns on the View, when he was like, no, I delegated everything to her. I trust her. She totally ran with everything. And so the media is like, it's like she has a clean slate. It's like she's never been in politics. She's literally the daughter of a Marxist professor.
Bro, here's the thing. Like, bro, she was vice president, and then y'all say, oh, she don't got that much power. I'm like, bro, what type of... Then why are y'all trusting her to run a country? Like, I'm so confused. You're right next to the president. You failed next to him. You can't even come out and just disavow him and say, look, he ran it bad. This is what I actually wanted to do. Like, you could have separated yourself, but she didn't. She didn't do it. So why are we trusting her if we're just going to give her excuses on why she couldn't do things as vice president?
Who's a San Francisco liberal who was rated the most radically left person in the United States Senate. Left.
And as vice president, you're president of the Senate. Look at a major deciding vote. She had power.
Of Bernie Sanders, because at least I think he kind of believed in at least American jobs. She couldn't care less. And they're like, no. Her political career started 3 weeks ago when she won, we use that word loosely, and the word, democracy, they throw it around. She got 0 votes, but, won this position. I'm like, you saw it during the debates. I'm not anti-gun. Like 10 days before, mandatory gun buyback program. They wanted it, that's part of their platform. She's not for taking part of your guns, but like a mandatory program. The key word in this is mandatory. Seems like you're actually really for taking your guns. Then 4 days later, she wants to institute an assault weapons ban. The media will tell you whatever.
I mean, when your neglection leads to that's so funny. Somebody in the chat really said, oh, well, you say she did nothing but blame her for everything. Yes, when your neglection caused a lot of problems, yes, you are to blame for everything. Like if you neglect your child and your child ends up, I don't know, in jail or worse, is it not your fault? Like, what you gonna tell the judge? Oh, that's crazy. How you gonna blame me now? Like, what are you really saying here? Oh, man. Like, I didn't even raise him. How you gonna blame me? I neglected him. How you gonna blame me for what happened? It's like, what? It was your responsibility. That's how some of y'all sound right now. Oh, that's hilarious. That was hilarious. Man.
You need to hear to get you to vote that way. She will tell you anything. I mean, she's going to crack down on the border. I mean, she was the border czar. I got fact-checked a couple, months ago when she was talking about it because I was like, she's the border czar. If she wanted to do something about the border, they had the materials there, all the labor was paid for. They just said to the workers, they said, take the contract we gave you, it doesn't matter, leave the materials, we'll sell it for pennies on the dollar. Now she's going to be tough on the border? Like the fact that we still fall for it. We saw it during the Biden administration in the 2020 Democrat debates. Who's against fracking in America?